Hello everyone. Very good evening to all of you guys. Let's wait a couple of more minutes. People are still joining, and then we will start. Guys, can anyone check? Do we have that dual link again today? And some people have joined in any other bridge. Is that the case? Abhishek. Yeah, that happened yesterday, but is that the same case for today, or today you guys receive only one single link? No, not today. Okay. Okay, great. Let's wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll start. Okay. Okay, guys, so let's start the session. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so uh, yesterday what we have done, yesterday we have checked that about a lot of Git architecture. Okay, so there we had discussed like what is a working directory, what is a staging area, and what is a Git directory that we have. Okay, and then we also discussed like what is a snapshot and um, how we can actually update the things from the working directory to the staging area, and then finally we can commit it. Okay, so yesterday we had discussed about the working directory, which is your current working or the basic Windows Explorer. Then we had the staging area. So staging area is that particular area where we are actually moving our file when we have to push it to the final commit. Okay. And similarly, we had discussed about the Git directory. So Git directory is basically a .git hidden folder where we have compressed file of all the code and their version. It is responsibility of the Git that it will give you the code files from the specific version. All these things we had discussed in detail. Okay, whatever the things that we did with the code, we will try to do that again. Okay, and now what I will do is I will go in this file. Okay, let's have a quick revision of the codes. that we had did yesterday. Okay, so I will create a new folder. Let's call it as a Git tutorial. Okay, then what we have to do, we will go inside this folder. Okay, and then we will go to the Git bash. So you have to click on Shift and right click on it, and then you can open the Git bash. So the Git bash is basically opening from this particular location. Okay, so there is a Linux command called pwd, that stands for present working directory. So you can see right now I'm at this particular folder. Okay, so I will check whether this folder is my Git folder or a Git repo or not. So what is the command to check that? How we can check about this particular folder? Yesterday I discussed that. How we can do that, guys? Git status. Very good. Okay. So we can check for Git status and it will give us the idea whether that particular folder is a Git repo or not. In my case, there are so many things going on in my local machine. So I'm getting basically the error, but this particular folder is not a Git file. Okay. So what we have to do in that case, I have to make this particular file as a Git file, Git repo. Okay. So now I initialize a empty Git repository using the git init. Okay, git init means I initialize this particular folder as my Git repo. Okay, now if I check Git status again, so you can see that no commits yet, nothing to commit. Okay, so now I will go and create some files into it, what I did yesterday. Okay, so let's try to do that. So it is my first text file. Okay, then I will take an Excel file. Okay, and I will take one more file. Let's say it is Access database file. I don't want to open that. Cancel. Why it is opening? I'm trying to create one. Yeah, this one. Okay, so let's call it as sample DB. So I added couple of files over here. Okay, now when I go to my Git, what it shows? Let's check the status again. Now, when I check the status, there is a some untracked file. Okay, it means that I have added couple of files over here, but Git is not tracking it. Okay, so this is something that we saw yesterday, and after that, we know what is the next file we have to do. Okay, so what is the next thing that we have to do is anyone? I have some files over here. What will be the next step? No, Git init is already done. Git init is used to make that particular folder as a Git repo. Git add. Very good, Ayush. Now we have to add these file git add hyphen hyphen a. So I'm adding all my files for the tracking. Okay, now I will check my status. So you can see that all these files are green, so it is being tracked, but it is not committed. So it is at the staging environment, okay, at the staging level. Now, what is the next thing we have to do after putting it into the staging? What will be the next step?
Sir, git commit hyphen m and then the commit.
Very good. Git commit hyphen m, then let's say I'm calling it as a initial commit. Okay, now I will run it and you can see my Git is committed. Okay, and then I will check the status. So there is on branch master, my working tree is clean, nothing to commit. Okay. So this is something that we had already done yesterday. Okay. Now we will do some more things from here, but before that, we have to understand a couple of more things. Okay. So these are the commands that we used yesterday. Okay. Now, the next thing that we have to do is, suppose I want to make that particular folder from, I don't want that particular folder to remain as a Git repo. I just want to make it as a initial folder. Okay. I don't want it to be a Git folder. So you can actually remove that particular Git folder. Okay. There is a .git. Remember, there is a one hidden folder .git. So we can actually delete that particular folder. So for deleting that particular folder, this command will delete the .git folder. So what is the .git folder? .git folder is basically a folder where all the information about the repo is actually located. And this is responsible for giving you maintaining the version, tracking the files and everything. But if I remove this folder, let's see how it can be done. Okay, so I have this command rm-rf, then the name of your folder. So it's a Linux command. So before I run that command, there are a couple of Linux command that you guys should know. Okay, what is a Linux command? So Linux command is to play with some directories. For example, one command I saw you is the pwd. PWD stands for present working directory. Okay, so it will give you in which directory you are right now. Then we have one command called as a cd. What does the cd do? So cd is stands for change directory. Okay, suppose wait Arun, I we are discussing about the class and program manager will share that. Okay, please wait and focus on the class. Okay, and these queries please ask at the end of the session. Do not spam. Okay, so cd is what? Change directory. Okay, so change directory is basically if I have a folder and I want to go into it. Okay, so right now I am in a PC, then ML, then Sunstone, then folder called Git, and then Git tutorial. Suppose I want to go in this Git folder. Not right now I'm in the Git tutorial. So we have a command called cd dot dot. When you use the cd dot dot, you will come outside the folder. Okay, you can see I actually came outside from this folder. Initially I was on the Git tutorial. Now I'm only on Git. I'm not in the Git tutorial. Now, if you want to go back in this folder, or suppose the Git folder contains multiple folders. Okay, so I specifically want to go in this folder, then you have to use the cd, that is change directory. Folder is often called as a directory. So cd, and then you have to write the name of your folder, which is Git tutorial. You have to press enter. So, too many arguments. Okay, so here the problem is it contains a space. Okay, and that's where the issue comes. So one way is you can do it from here. Other way, you can do a simple git bash to go in this particular folder. We will go over there. That's not an issue. Now, another thing is called as a touch. Okay, I will talk about the touch a bit later. Okay, so once we are like outside this folder, if I want to delete this particular folder called as a Git tutorial. Okay, so how I can do that? So what I will do, I can first of all rm-rf. So rm-rf will basically delete everything. Okay, rm-rf will basically delete everything. So before deletion, let me minimize this and show you that. Oh, I cut it. Wait. So right now I was at Git folder. Okay. So if I do a git bash from here. For example, right now I'm doing a git bash from the git folder, not from the git tutorial. Okay, so I'm in this, so I can check twd, present working directory is this. I want to know that what are the names of the folder. Okay, I want to know what are the names of the folder that we have. So there is a one command, very simple, called as a list or the ls. Suppose you want to know what are the different folders I have in this folder. So you can see that this particular folder, git folder, contains a git tutorial folder, okay, a git ppt.pptx file, and a folder called as images. Okay, let's check whether we have the same folder. So git tutorial, images, and a git ppt. So you can see these are the three things that we are getting. One more command is ls-ltr. Okay, so it will give you the description as well about those folder, when they are created, how they are created, who actually created. Okay, so I'm the owner, I have created all these files and folder. Okay, now I want to go inside the git tutorial, so let's use the cd. Before that, one more thing. After this particular, if I when I go inside the folder, I will delete it. So always remember, this is a very powerful command. Okay, and you are using this particular command only to specify the folder which you want to delete, the folder or the files. Okay, you are working as a admin right now. When you are in production or you are working for some organization, do not, I repeat, do not use this command. Okay, there is no reversal of it, remember. So this, don't open any random location and run this command. No, don't do that. This command will delete, it will wipe out everything. Okay, so make sure whenever you are using this command, okay, you have to check the twice what is the exact thing that you are actually deleting. Okay, mind it, write this down, that avoid using this particular command as
दो
much
सौ
as
ब्रेक
possible.
जाएगा.
Okay, okay, so now if I come over here and I will go to my git tutorial. Okay, so I'm in my, and if I check my git status, so this is actually a git file. I know this is a git repo, working trees clean. Now what I am going to do is, if I'm doing ls over here, okay, so it is showing me the file. Okay, there is a text file, there is a accessdb file, and there is a excel file. Now I want to delete that .git folder, so that this repo, this particular folder will no longer be a git repo. So what I will do, rm hyphen rf, then .git. Okay, I will hit the enter. Now it is done. Now if I run the git status again, okay, so it is again showing that this is not a git repo. Okay, I have a lot of things, but yeah, in your case you will get that this is not a git repo. It is no longer a git repo. Previously when I ran it as a status, it was a git repo. Okay, now when I remove that .git folder from there, then it is no longer a git repo. So git init is actually the command which is making a particular directory or a particular folder as a git repo. And if you want to convert it to a normal directory, from a git repo to a normal directory, then in that particular case you can use the, you have to remove this .git folder, and you can do that. Okay, As simple as that. So now we have understood how to create a folder, and then how to make it as a Git folder, how to move the file to the tracking, then from tracking, how to move it to the staging, and then how to commit it. And then we also discussed that how to make a Git repo as a normal repo. Okay. Now, before I go to the next version or next thing, we have to understand this one flow. Okay. Just give me a second. Huh? Let me just reduce its size. Okay. So this is called as a file status lifecycle. We have already learned about it, but yeah, let's understand that again. So initially, when the files are created, okay, when a particular files are created, so suppose we have created a first.txt, okay, then we had a Excel file. Let's call it as s.xlsx. This is my Excel file. I'm talking about the two files. So initially, these files are untracked. Okay, when I make my folder as a Git folder, so if I do, let's clear it. So right now, if I check what are the files, so these are the three files, and I had checked my Git status. It's not a Git repo. So I'm just making this repo as a Git repo. Okay. Now, once I made it as a Git repo, then I check the status. Then you can see that these are my untracked files. Okay, these are my untracked files. So what you can see over here, we are initially at this step. Okay, we are initially at this step. These files are untracked. Now, when you apply the command, what is the command to move it to the next stage? That is git add, and I'm adding everything. So hyphen hyphen a. So this particular command git add hyphen hyphen a will actually move your files from untracked to the staging as well as unmodified. When there is a first time you are running this command git add, so it will directly move to the staging. Okay, first time only, and at the same time it will be at the unmodified place. So let's do that. So right now it's an untracked file, so I will add everything git add hyphen hyphen a. Now if I just check the git status, so you can see changes to be committed, so it is now tracked as well as in the staging form. Okay, so we are at the, it is already at the stage, because after the stage you can do the commit. Okay, when you make a commit, it will again become an unmodified one. So what happens is that now we have some files, I added it. Okay, after the addition, it is at the stage and we can commit it. Once you commit anything, it will become unmodified. Okay, so what I will do is, let's commit it. Okay, what we have already done. So let's commit git commit hyphen m initial. Why I'm writing this multiple time? We have already did this twice. This is the third time I'm doing, so that you guys will learn these commands. Okay, you need not to look for any Google help or something like this. Okay, so we have committed it. Now, once I committed it, and you can check the status, everything is clean. My working tree is clean. So right now, all the files initially it is untracked. I added it. The moment I added it was the first time, so it moved to the staged, and then I committed it. So right now it is in unmodified. Okay. Now, what is the next step? Suppose I modified one of the file. Okay. Suppose I modified one of the file. So first.txt is initially unmodified. Now I am modifying. I made the changes into it. Now, if you can see earlier, everything was clean. Okay. Now, if I check the git status, you can see there is a modified stage. Okay, it means that this particular file that I had, first.txt, which was at unmodified stage, I edited it and now it is in the modified stage. Okay, now Git is asking me, hey, you have modified your file, please add it to the staging. And then once I add it to the staging, then I have to do the commit. Okay, so if I add it to the staging, so git add and the name of my file, and now I check the status. So you can see changes to be committed. So it's modified and it is in the staged. So what happened? I had a first.txt, I modified it, added couple of things, edited the file, and then I staged the file. So it is now staged. Okay, and it is asking me, hey, please commit it. Okay, it is asking me changes to be committed. Okay, so I have to commit it. So I will commit it and I will put my comment updated the first.txt. Okay, and I committed it. Now, the moment I committed this particular file, okay, it will again become unmodified. Okay, not untracked, unmodified. Okay, Git is still tracking it. So it again becomes the unmodified. You can check the status and there is nothing to be in the modified or the staged. Everything is in the unmodified stage. Okay, so this is called as a file status life cycle of a Git. Okay, there is a method by which you can actually untrack the file, but we will discuss that command a bit later, not right now. I will come back to this diagram. Okay, but right now we have to understand that how these four flows works. Okay, this is called as a file status life cycle. In your interview, if you mention that, hey, I know Git, okay, so they may ask you, okay, how to track a file, what is the command that you can use to track the file. Okay, so you have to use the git add hyphen a to add all the files, and hyphen sorry, the name of the file to track a single file. Then it will go into the stage. From stage to commit is a git commit. Okay, and once you modified something, then from modification modified to stage, again git add. Okay, so 3 or 4 commands is the one that we have to keep in mind, and must have to we have to make sure that we know this particular process so that we can understand that at which particular level our files are. Okay, anyone have any doubts or any question up to this part? Sir, repeat again. Sure. So initially we have the files, okay, and we have created nothing about the git. Okay, then we have initialized the git init to make the particular folder. So this is my, let's say, called as a project folder. Okay, this is my project folder. In the project folder, I have these 2 files. Initially, Git is not tracking it. Then we had made this folder as a Git repo using the git init. Okay, when I use the git init, then I made this particular folder as a git repo. Then it is showing, okay, these files are not tracked. Okay, these files are not actually tracked. Okay, all these files are not tracked. There are the files, but Git does not have any tracking about it. So for the tracking, we use the git add hyphen a. Okay, to move all these folders, all these files that we have into the unmodified stage, as well as the, sorry, into the staging environment. So at the very first time when you are running this command for the first time, then it will move from untracked to stage. Okay, it will move it from the untracked to stage. Once it is in stage, then you can commit it. Okay, once it is in stage, So it will become like this, means it is being tracked and it is in the staging environment. Now I committed it. So when you will commit it, then after the commit, you can see it was in a stage and then there is a commit. Okay. So when I committed it, it becomes unmodified. Okay. What it becomes? It becomes unmodified. So you can see I have committed it and I check the Git status and it is saying, okay, working tree is completely clean, right? Now, the next step is I update it because we are continuously working on our project, right? So I updated my one of the file. So it was initially unmodified. Now you have modified it. Okay, you edited the file. Once you edited the file, then it becomes at the modified stage. When it is in modified stage, you can see I updated it. So I updated my first.txt. So it is in red and it is saying, okay, changes not staged for commit, means it is at the modified stage. So what I have to do, I have to move it to the staging. And we discussed several times how to move it into the staging by using the git add command. So if I use the git add and I only modified one file, so I just want to update this one. So I use git add first.txt. Okay. So it moved to the from modified, it moved to the my staged. Okay. Then once I have this, once it moved to the stage, then I check the status again. And it is showing it is modified as well as it is staged. So it is ready for the commit. So you can see once it is a stage, then we can use git commit to commit the file to our repo. And then it will again come back. We have stage and then committed, and then it again comes to the unmodified. Okay. So this is the life cycle. Clear now, Kiran? Okay, great. Now we are going to learn how to clone a repo from the GitHub. Now, what is this? What is cloning? So cloning is a method. So on the GitHub, we have mentioned that, okay, on the GitHub, we have lot of directories, lot of files and folders, lot of project. So we saw in the distributed version control system that when you are taking a particular code from the Git repo, then it is giving you all the version and all the details about it. Okay, so let's see that. So what I will do is I will go to my Google and this is a one Git repo. Let me just give you this particular link. Okay, so I have a one repo at the GitHub. Okay, so I discussed one thing during the session, first day of the session, that whenever there is a Git repo, so multiple people can use it together. Okay, and they will get a copy of the whole repo. So what you have to do is whenever you will open any repo, any Git repo, okay, you can find some normal Git repo. For example, Linux GitHub. Okay, so this is a Linux GitHub repo. You can see Mr. Linus Torvalds managing the Linux. So this is a Linux Git repo, and you can clone it. Means you can take a copy of it and you can use it on your local. Okay, so we are not going to use the Linux one. I can like we are going to create a demo, create a copy of this repo for myself. Okay, so what you have to do is you will open a GitHub repo. Then there is an option over here, code. Okay, you have to click on it. And then it is giving you a command. Okay, a URL is there. Clone using the web URL. You have to copy it. Okay, you have to copy this particular link. Then you have to come to your git bash. Okay, now I'm at my git bash. Let's use the clear to remove everything. And we can see what are the things that I have in this folder. So I have a first.txt, sample DB, and then sample worksheet. Okay. Now I want to use, okay, this is my project and I want to make some changes into it so that I require this particular project into my local. Okay, so how to get that? So for that, what you have to do is you have to write a command. Okay, the command is git clone and the repo address. Okay, this is the repo address that I have. Now I can do that. So git clone. Okay, then the URL that you have copied, you have to paste it. Okay, here control V is not going to work. For pasting, control V will not work. Okay, you can do the right click and there will be a paste option and the shortcut is shift plus insert. Okay, there is an insert key in your keyboard. So either you can paste it by using a right click and then paste, or you can use a shortcut shift insert. Okay, so now here, this is the rep. Okay, this is not copied correctly. Let me copy it again. So I will go over here, select it and control C. I will copy or I will copy it from here. Then I will come and I will paste it as it is. Okay. So now I have pasted this particular URL, okay, from my GitHub. Now when I hit enter, let's see what is going to be happen. I already show you that in my this Git tutorial folder, I only have first.txt, a text file, a accessdb file, and an Excel file. Now let's run this. So you can see that it is showing me cloning into the data structure algorithm, and then it downloaded couple of things. Okay. So you can see counting object, compressing object, there are total 479 object and 1.27 MB per second. That was the speed, and 187 KB of data I have actually cloned. Okay. Now if I check the ls again to see the folder, now you can see a folder appears at my this folder, Git tutorial. Okay, data structure and algorithms. Let's see whether it is available over here as well. Yes, you can see the data structure and algorithm folder that we had on the GitHub. I was able to clone it in my local, and you can see the time. It's 1936. So it is not like it was previously there. Just now it is created. And when you open this, then in that, why it is not showing anything? Is it not cloned well or what? Wait a second now. Hmm, it's empty. Let me clone again. What's wrong with it? Okay, let me try something else. Why the files are deleted? Okay, maybe some issue with my repo. Let's try to clone any other repo.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I don't think there is any problem with repo because I got the things you showed correctly. I have uploaded the screenshot for that.
Okay, then what's wrong with my Git, man?
So,
Yeah, you are getting. Okay, great. Okay, I will look for my Git. I don't know why it is actually. I checked the status and it is showing everything is deleted. Okay, so I have to debug it. Yeah. So basically, that's the whole idea how you can actually do that. Okay. Main thing that we have to learn today is, yeah, we are in this Git tutorial. Let's check for the Git status. Okay. So there is a one folder now which is untracked. Okay, data structures and algorithm. So the main idea of the Git clone, I will check what is the issue with my Git. The main idea of the Git clone is you can copy or you can clone any of the repo. Okay, suppose in this repo, I have a lot of machine learning projects. Okay, I have a lot of machine learning projects. Suppose this is the project related to the linear regression, and there are multiple projects into it. Okay, so whatever the project, whatever the item that you want, you can actually clone it. Okay, and you can clone it and you can use it to make the changes. So whatever the change that you will make, that will be in your local, not in the GitHub. Okay, so only I can change my GitHub. Okay, now we will talk about the GitHub a bit later, but before that, we have to learn something very much interesting and very much important that is called as a git ignore. Okay, now what is this git ignore? Let's try to understand this. So, the git ignore is a very important functionality that every Git developer should know. So there are some files. Okay, there are a lot of files, but there are some file which we don't want to commit. Okay, there are some file which we don't want to commit, but it is the part of the software. So we want to ignore these files. For an example, if I go to this particular folder, if I just delete it, okay, suppose these are my files. Okay, and there is a one file that we have. Let's call it as a text document, and I will do it as a, suppose, error dot log. Okay, so I have one file which is a log file, dot log. What does this file do? So this particular file actually have a log. Okay, this particular file actually contains a log. So when a program is running, a lot of logs are generated. Okay, lots of information, lots of logs are actually generated. So when these logs are generated, I don't want it. Like what happens, a user comes, then some internet issues, everything is actually logged over here. Okay, so I do not want this file to be used or in the staging or any other environment. Okay, so let's do this from the Linux itself or from the bash. So first of all, we will go over here. Let's clear it. So I have a software and it is generating a tons of log, and I don't want it to be stored every time or to be commit every time. Okay, so right now how many files I have? I have three files. So let's create a log file. So you can create a file from the bash itself. So for creating a file, there is a command called touch. Okay, touch is basically going to create a file for you. And I'm giving this file name as error.log. Okay, so touch error.log basically created one file for me. Okay, you can see I did the ls and it is giving me error.log. Okay, now if I check the git status now, so what it does is it is showing me, okay, there is a one file that you have created, which is error.log, and it is untracked. Okay, so it is asking me, hey, can you move it to the staging and then can you be committed? But I don't want to commit it. Okay, this error.log does not contain any relevant information which I want again and again and again. Okay, it is just a log file. So what you have to do is, that's where the git ignore comes into the picture. Okay, so we will create another file using the command touch and we will name it as a dot git ignore. Okay, so let's do that. So we will create another file called as touch, and the file name, yeah, it's specific. Okay, you cannot mess up with the name. Git ignore, enter. Now I have entered it. Then I will check the status again. So it is showing, hey man, now you have two files which is untracked. So we created the git ignore so that this should not come over here. But now the git ignore is also coming and this one is also coming. What to do? So for that, we have to open the .gitignore file and we have to add the name of the file which you want to ignore. In our case, we want to ignore the error.log file. So let's open the log file. Okay. So this is my gitignore. I will right click on it and let's open it with the notepad. Okay. So now I have opened that particular file, and what you have to do is you have to write the name of the file which you want to ignore into the git ignore file. So I will write my name error.log. Okay, and I will save it. Okay, then I will close this. Let's see. So now if I run the git status again, okay, you can see I did not touch the error.log. I only added it into the git ignore. And you can see now the git ignore is only which is untracked and error.log is gone. So the git is actually ignoring the error.log file from any tracking, any committing or anything. Okay. So by this way, whenever I'm going for the commit or anything, error.log file will not going to be committed. Okay, but still .git ignore is there. So if .git ignore is there, then you can stage it and you have to commit it. Okay, so let's do that. So how to, can anyone give me the command? Right now it is untracked. I want to move it to the staging. What will be the command for it? Give me the answer in the chat box. Git add file name. Very good. So git add dot git ignore. Okay, so I added it. Let's check the status. So now it is showing, okay, new file is in the staging. Let's commit it. So let's commit this. So git commit -m, give the commit message, added the git, let's say .git ignore file. Okay, now I have to check the log for the commits. So you can see these are the logs. I have updated initial commit, then I updated the first.txt, then I added the git ignore. Okay, so all these things are actually coming over here. Now let's check one more thing. Now if we modify the error.log, let's test this. What happens if I modify my error.log file? Okay, so this is my error.log file. So I added something over here. Okay, now I modified it. So if I modified this file, then what will happen? Do I get anything on git status? No, I will not get anything. Why? because Git is ignoring it. Okay, Git is actually ignoring the error.log file. So whatever the modification you are doing into it, that also cannot be considered. Okay, now is it ignoring everything or it is just ignoring my error.log? Let's change the first.txt file. Okay, let's check whether this is ignored or not. Okay, so I modified my first.txt. Let's check whether it is tracked or not. Its status, yes. So it is the error.log file which is not committed. Sorry, which is ignored. But if I change any other file, then it is showing, hey, you modified it, man. You have to stage it and you have to commit it. Okay, let's do that. Quickly, I'm doing it. So git add first.txt, then git commit -m updated the first.txt for git ignore check. Okay, now it's done. Let's check the git status. Everything is working fine. Okay, so this is how we can ignore it. Let's suppose, so this is a one single file. Okay, this is a one single file. So we were able to ignore it easily. We added it. Let's suppose there are so many log files. Okay, tens or thousands of log files are created. How you will do that then? Okay, for example, okay, so I have created the multiple copies. Okay, 8 to 10 copies of it. Okay, you can see there are so many copy over here. Now we have so many copies, so let's see what happens over there. Is it ignoring everything? Oops, there is only the error.log which we added into the git ignore, that is ignored, but not all the files that we had created. Okay, it is not ignoring all the log file, it is only ignoring the file that we have created. So there is a one way that you go into the git ignore file and then you will manually edit it and adding the names of all the files. So right now just imagine, okay, think of this situation. You are working, let's suppose you have created a chat or Facebook type application. Okay, and the log is stored every hour. Okay, because millions of people are working on it. Okay, using it. So every hour a log file is created and its size is, let's say, 1 GB. In a one single day you will get 24. Okay, in a 1 year, that the number of the files is huge. You cannot store that much of the log file. What you want the code of it, not the logs, right? So you are not going to add after every hour. Someone is not going to sit and add a file name over there. Okay, so what's the best way to do that? So for that, what we are doing it, now we want to ignore. Okay, now we want to ignore all the log file. So we have to open the git ignore and we have to write the extension of it with the asterisk mark. Asterisk means all. Okay, so we have to add this extension. Okay, let's try to do that. So I'm going to open my git ignore. And then instead of error.log, I have to write asterisk and then dot log. Okay, means any file where the extension is dot log, that will be ignored. Okay, so let me show you over here. So all these are the dot log file, correct? Now I will save this file and cut it. And let's see one more time, git status. See, only the dot git ignore file is there because I modified it. All these files that we had created which is having the extension of .log, that is actually ignored. Okay, so git ignore is a very essential tool that everyone should know. Okay, so now I have to just commit my git ignore. Okay, let's do that. I already have a command, so git add dot ignore, and then I will do the git commit, and here I will update my comment ignored all the .log file. Okay, commit is done. Check the status again. Everything is clean. Okay, now up to this part, anyone have any doubts or question? What is a function of git ignore? How does it works? And what's the use case? Anyone? Any doubts? Any questions? No, great. Now, so there might be a possibility, okay, that you have some folders, okay, because it is not like a project contains only one single folder. For example, here in my case, I have a folder, I have a repo, okay, and in that repo, I have a multiple things. So if I can show you our project, okay, let's say this one, custom chat GPT, okay. So here I have some files, okay, and this is a, hey, why you are unmuting yourself, man? Okay, for example, here I have some machine learning projects, and into this you can see into my one repo I have multiple folders over here. Okay, so you may have some folder. Let's create a folder. Okay, and into this folder you have, let's say, data. Okay, anything, you can have any name of the folder. In my case, let's say I'm giving it as a data. Okay, sir, if I created few files with the same extension, in those files only one file I want to commit, and other files should be in git ignore. Okay, so you have to use it manually, man. Then the one that you have to commit, you have to commit it manually, and then you have to add the files into the git ignore all the extensions. Okay, so that is also you can do. Now I have this data folder that I have created. Okay, let's see. If I created this data folder, what happens? If I check the status and it is showing, hey man, your working tree is still clean, but I added a folder. So what does happen? If I check for ls, does the folder is there? Yes, there is a data folder. Then why it is showing that, hey man, everything is clean? Because by default, an empty folder, if a folder is empty, the git ignores it. Okay, so let's add a file into this folder. So right now I'm in a git tutorial folder. I have to create a file inside a data folder. So I will go inside this folder by using a cd command, cd.data, and you can see now I'm inside a data folder. Okay, let's create a file called as touch, and let's say I'm doing a sample, or let's call it as a text.txt. Okay, run it. Now I will do my ls. Okay, so in this particular data folder, there is a file called test.txt. Let's check over here whether this file is there or not. So this is a data, and you can see a test file is created. Now let's try to track it. So first of all, we have to come back to our git tutorial, cd dot dot, because data is not a git one. Now if I check for git status, okay, now it is showing, hey man, you have a folder named as data, which is untracked. Okay, so there is a folder which is a data, and this is untracked. So there is one thing that you can add it and then you can remove it. anything that you can do. Okay, so we will do adding, removing of those things tomorrow. But what we will do today, let's suppose there is one more folder, mkdir. So mkdir is used for creating a folder. Just like touch is used to create a file, mkdir means make directory is used to create a folder. So I'm creating a folder. Let's call it as a dir. Okay, I have created a one folder and I have given its name as dir. Okay, you can see over there. So a dir folder is created. Now, initially, it is definitely going to be what? Ignored. Sorry, because it was empty, but I added a one file into it, that is error file. Okay, and let me add one more file into it. Let's call it as a text because error file is already ignored. So I'm just go and I'm having two files over here, error and test. Okay, let's see. So now if I check for git status, so now it is showing me, hey man, you have a dir and you have a data which is actually untracked. What I want is, now I'm going to show you the main idea is that how to ignore a folder. Okay, so for ignoring a folder, you have to add the name of a folder. Okay, so that's what I have written over here for your reference. What if we have a folder in our project, but we don't want to track the inner file or that particular folder? Okay, so in that case, we have to update the .gitignore file and we have to the name of the folder. In my case, dir is the name of the folder. So let's open the git.ignore. Okay, and into the gitignore file, I'm going to add a dir. Okay, and a slash means this folder and anything inside it. Slash means this folder and anything inside it that can be ignored. Okay, let's save it, close this file, and let's check the git status again. Okay, so now you can see that I have a different output. So here we have git status showing, hey man, there are two folders that is untracked. Now it is showing there is only one untracked file, which is a data folder. Okay, and I modified my .git ignore. So let's suppose I want to ignore the data folder as well. If you want to commit it, you want to move it to the staging, you can do that, but I'm not going to do that. We are discussing about the git ignore. So let's say I want to do the data only. Okay, so let's do that. One scenario, suppose I have this file. Because of this file, it is untracked. Let's create one folder over here, give it a name dir, and I put my this file into this folder. Okay, so now into my data folder, there is a folder called dir, and then we have a file called test. Okay, so let's see whether it is going to work for us or not. So what do you think? If I'm going to run the git status, will it is going to ignore the data or it is not going to ignore the data folder? What do you think? Inside the data folder, I only have a dir folder. Okay, so if you can see that it is ignored. Why it is ignored? What's the reason? The reason was that inside our, we are ignoring the dir folder. So wherever there is a dir folder in your repo, that is ignored. Okay, so this dir is ignored. In the data folder, there is only one folder, which is dir. Okay, so this folder is ignored. So for the git, this becomes an empty folder. The data folder will actually becomes a empty folder. And by default, git is ignoring the empty folder. There is no file over here. Okay, what will have if I have a one file over here instead of test in this dir, because this dir is actually ignored. If I have a one folder name as dir and a file name as test, let's see what will happen. So now again it is showing, hey man, your data folder is untracked, because I'm not ignoring the data folder, I'm ignoring the dir folder, and inside the data there is a file. Okay, and what is that file? That is a test file, and that's why it is not ignored, and it is asking me, hey man, please track it. Okay, it is asking me, can you please track this particular file? So right now I don't want to track it, I will just delete it. Okay, and I have simple configuration, I have updated my git ignore, I will check, and only the this part is modified. I will just move it to the stage. So git add dot git ignore git commit hyphen m ignored the dir folder. Enter. And now if you check the git status, everything is clean. Okay. So if you want to ignore a file, if you want to commit a file, if you want to ignore multiple file of extension, if you want to ignore a folder, if you want to ignore a folder of a folder, all these things you can do using the dot git ignore. Okay. Hey Vijay, don't do this, man. Okay. Anyone? Any doubts or any questions over here? Sir, is this possible to add ignore file in dot ignore using the CMD? Yeah, man, you cannot do that. Okay, so please practice these things by your own. Okay, and try to do, because what I have done is I'm trying to write the same command. If you can see from the day second up to here, I have used the 5 or 6 commands only, but multiple times. And every time I'm writing it for you. Okay, so that it will stuck in your mind. Okay, and you guys need not to check the screenshot or an image or Google to check the commands. Okay, these couple of commands you should know by heart. Okay, sir, I have missed the last 2 sessions. Will this affect on? No, man, that will not going to affect the certificate. Okay, once you do the project, everything works fine. Okay. Okay, so tomorrow we are going to learn a couple of more things. Okay, what is a branch? What is a master branch? What is a feature branch? How to merge the branches? Okay, and then we will see maybe day after tomorrow that how to push your Git repo from your local to the GitHub. Okay, meanwhile, you guys have to practice all these things by your own. Okay. Is it possible to ignore one file on same name? I did not get the question. One file on same name. First of all, you cannot create 2 files with the same name into a directory. Okay, so that's why the question is not clear. Can you please elaborate or turn on your mic? Khanjan Dev Sharma. Turn on your mic, man. Ask the question. Don't worry about that. Khanjan, you there?
Yes, sir, but I have some family issues, so I'll keep my audio off, sir.
Okay. Okay, so point is, you are asking if there are 2 files with the same name, one you want to commit and other one you don't, right? I understood the question correct. Okay, First of all, you cannot create the two files with the same names and the extension in Windows or in any environment. Okay, it is not possible. It will be a conflict. So always there is a unique name of the file. Okay, same name of the directory, or the file could not exist into a same folder. Okay, so that is not possible. So yeah, you cannot do that, obviously. Different folder, yeah man, different folder we have done now. There is a log file and which is ignored. So there are a couple of log files over here. If you create a folder and in that folder there is a log file that will be ignored. For example, let me show you. Okay, suppose right now it is there. Okay, and here I am making a log file. So I will go to cd data, okay, ls. So there is a dir. Okay, now if I add a one file called as a touch, and then I'm adding, let's say, a text file. Okay, so sample.txt. Okay, and now if you check the status of it, it will show that in this particular data folder there is something which is not tracked. Okay, so cd dot dot and check. So into the data there is a file which is not tracked. Okay, now let me add into the cd data. I am adding a log file, error touch error dot log. Okay, so I have added a log file over here. Okay, now if I check the status, it will again show one thing, that hey man, there is something in the data which is not tracked. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me do this sample.txt file, delete it. I deleted it. Okay, now only there is a file which is error.log. So let's try to check this. Okay, so you can see it is cleaned. I did not added the error.log specifically into the git ignore, but I already have .log. Okay, so you can see that this error.log was also ignored. So I have a two file in same name, error over here and a error over here. It is having the same name and git is ignoring both of them because of the extension error.log. Okay, clear now, Kanjan? No issues, man. There is no need of sorry. Okay, ask as many questions as you want. I'm always okay with the question. Just one thing, do not ask managerial question during the session. Okay, I will ask the management to share the link of the previous session to you guys. Okay, you guys will get it by today itself. Okay, last two session will be uploaded. I'm damn sure. You guys will get that. Okay. Okay, guys. So that's it from my side today. You guys can practice it. Okay, I have to jump to the next meeting. So yeah, let's meet tomorrow, man. Bye. Good night, all of you. Bye bye.